This is me, Snickiest Jupiter, again. Back at it with. Oh no, it's gone! It's all gone! No! My ice, it melted. Give me a moment. There's some pieces left here. Mm. Don't judge me. Okay, as I was gonna say, welcome back to the channel. And we're back at Creep Podcast. And we'll continue this. I hope this is the last one, the last video, because I'm not gonna record any further. Well, let's get recording.
It's almost definitely down there. Door went down quietly. At first, I considered leaving Ripley behind, but after losing him the first time, I decided I'd rather risk it just to know he was right next to me. Besides, he was being quieter than I was, and I didn't feel much like going down those stairs on my own. He accompanied me with only the quiet click-clack of his paws on concrete. Sound I found deeply comforting, as I barely managed to keep my torch from shaking in my hand and my breathing steady. Down one floor and I found the workshop exactly.
Not gonna lie. If you were in a situation like this, you would feel comfortable with your own dog's claws hitting the ground instead of hearing another footstep behind you.
As you might expect. A large space filled with generators and fuel and water tanks and boilers and heaters and pretty much anything and everything that you need to survive, which you couldn't put outside due to fallout. Wires, pipes, and tubes ran from one end of the room to the other, and even years later, most of the machinery still hummed in the pitch-black emptiness. An idea I found deeply unsettling. Taking one look at the strange tangle of harsh shapes and industrial figures looming out of the walls and floor, I shivered and looked around, quickly finding a small area Daniel had cordoned off for his own use. About a fifth of the total floor space, there was a large workbench and some seriously high-end machining equipment, all very well used. Lathes, buzzsaws, drills, belt sanders, welding torches, everything a man needed to do it himself. Daniel had been busy. I'm not sure exactly what it was he'd been working, but
Indeed
there was an
has.
arm on the bench.
A what?
So,
Bruh.
I know it's like a scary visual, but the reading of all the equipment, I thought he had been building contraptions or like creatures or something. And it's like, my prized work, an arm.
Bruh, what? Really? An arm? Is that the one thing that he's thinking of, bruh?
I wonder, do you think it's Daniel's arm?
Could be. Good chance. Very good chance. It sat atop a pile of papers that had slowly turned brown over the years until the whole thing looked like it had been soaked in tobacco spit. On the whiteboard was a faded but still visible diagram of what looked to me like a ball and socket joint. I thought of the tape, of Daniel's little mechanism to keep his family upright, and then looked at the arm and suppressed a momentary gag reflex.
I got a question. Is he gonna use an arm for something? I mean, at this point, it's just a severed arm, I think, that's on the bench. But the real question is, where are the other arms?
I don't know if Dan had been working on posable limbs or just a way to put the decomposing remains back together after they started to fall apart, but the size of the arm suggested a preteen child.
Oh, God.
He left it out on the surface like it was a disassembled clock. It was also missing a finger.
Okay, I got a question. I hope that isn't a fresh arm and just the old one. And if that is the old one, dear God, how is it not well, it is decomposing, but how come it's not fully gone? Like, it's been years, and it should be like a skeleton at this point.
Just how
I think it is, but I'm not sure.
crazy was he? I wondered as I pinched my nose with one hand and began overturning boxes looking for a hefty pair of pliers, or maybe a hacksaw. Ripley backed away from the noise, but once I made sure he wasn't going anywhere, I carried on grabbing and pulling at box after box, hoping I'd find what I was looking for. Anything to break that metal bar.
He couldn't beat the villains, so he
No!
adopted them? Alan was
ruined
terrified
everything.
when he realized.
In the end, I managed to get a pair of bolt cutters, a crowbar, and a heavy-duty pair of pliers. In the end, I managed to get a pair of bolt cutters, a crowbar, and a heavy-duty pair of pliers. One went in my pocket, one went down the back of my jeans, and the other was clutched in my fist. Too large to be tucked away in my clothes. The bolt cutters felt hefty in my hand, which was a bit of comfort, but that feeling didn't last long. Something moved in the darkness. Out there in the twisted jungle of shadows cast by all those pipes and wires that ran from one machine to the next, a figure moved. Thin, but unmistakably human in its outline. I couldn't help but remember what I'd seen on that tape. Surely it couldn't have been real. Maybe Daniel had rigged something up. Some fishing wire and a motor, maybe. The idea that those bodies had been moving on their own. Couldn't be sure of that, could I? It was a frightening idea, one my mind had latched onto out of sheer panic. That was all. Then I saw them. A pair of white pinpricks reflecting back at me from the depths of that cluttered room. Ripley, already behind me, head nuzzled into my leg, pushed even closer against me and let out a barely audible whine under his breath, the behavior of a dog who was terrified, close to pissing himself with fear.
Oh no, not pissing himself with fear. Oh, that's the worst type of fear for a dog. If you know a dog is like that, then, buddy, you know it's time to run.
Just a bit of metal, I told myself as the light shook so violently in my hand I struggled to see straight, just two shiny bits of metal. They blinked and began to come towards me.
Oh, Lord.
If I had any doubts left, they were dispersed by the sight of a pale white hand emerging into the light. I ran straight to the stairs and went to climb them, but only 1 or 2 steps in and I saw something gripping the handrail on the top floor. A moldy clump of flesh, only just recognizable as a fist. The flesh withered until the fingers were basically bone. Without meaning to, I brought my light up out of habit and saw the bloated face of a hairless corpse glaring down at me.
What?
I couldn't even tell you if it had been a teenage girl or a 60-year-old Daniel. Either way, I instinctively turned and found another body shambling towards me out of the workshop.
Okay, so at this point, the corpses and whatever that thing is controlling them, and it's trying to stop him from escaping. Would make sense.
Trapped, nowhere to go. By the feel of warm fluid on the back of my leg, I could tell Ripley had finally pissed himself. An adult dog, tail between his legs, shivering like a puppy and desperate to be picked up. God, I needed him to just stay together for a little longer. I couldn't take him in my arms, but I couldn't leave him behind either. With nowhere to go, I ran down and entered storage. There was the temptation to stop once I hit the bottom. Down here, the air was thicker and the sounds of my breathing were muted, somehow distant. But I only had to look back up to see 3 pairs of eyes glaring down at me. So without giving any of it much further thought, I barreled down the corridor and stumbled onto a door at random. Opening it, I saw what looked like your standard storage room. Only most of the shelves had been overturned and the food left to rot on the floor.
What kind of bunker is this? How big is it? Like, seriously, how big is the bunker to be, like, having all of this stuff? The bunker has to be at least equally as big as a mansion, like, building, like the inside of a mansion, like, gigantically big. If it's like that, dear God, this man's screwed. Unless if he finds the sewers that's connected to the basement. Yes, there could be possible sewer, like he could just try to escape through the sewers. Like, find a toilet and open it up, like, from the bottom, so his dog could escape over him. But it depends how big is the pipe and the stuff.
1 or 2 shelving units were still upright though, and their shelves were covered in tall opaque boxes that made them a fantastic hiding spot. That, I decided, would have to be where I crouched down and turned off my light. I was already inside when I realized that wasn't all that was in there. The door almost looked normal. I guess, what a menacing sentence.
I know, I hate that. I hate the uncanniness of that.
Oh, man, gosh. This is excellent. This story is excellent because it's in my head. I'm like, there's no way he would ever go further down. But then you put a threat that makes him go further down, which lets us see the rest of the layout and stuff. And also the presentation where we had a map of it, so we know what's coming while he's in the workshop. Like it's all very well done. This is an excellent story. I could see why Daniel must have been.
Someone should draw a map of this entire story. Someone should literally draw a map of the basement at this point.
Confused by it because it looked a little bit
like in real life,
like all the other doors down there, but it was different too. It was too tall and too wide, about 1.5 feet off the ground, and the metal rusted in its entirety like it had aged out of sync with everything else down there. All around the jam was a profusion of wet, soppy moss like the kind you find hanging off trees in a swamp, and every few seconds the door would leak something strange and oily, like the kind of thing you find in a parking lot on a rainy day. Of course, that wasn't too strange in itself, but the leak was horizontal, defying gravity so that every few seconds, a large glob of the stuff would whip across the room and slap into the wall opposite, creating a puddle about the size of a man that defied all reason. Interesting, so it's like gravity's thrown down there. Remembering Daniel's words about radiation, I instinctively inched away from this puddle and the door on the opposite wall, backing myself into the darkest, quietest corner I could while I pulled.
How dangerous is that puddle? I mean, it's obvious here is radiation, but how much is it? Like, how much radiation could that puddle have?
Ripley behind me and hoped to hell he wouldn't give me away. Once I was in there, I turned off my light and waited. It must have taken longer than I thought to hide in the spot, because it was barely 2 seconds later when a few figures entered the room.
Advance into leadership with a BS in electrical engineering technology. Excelsior University's
It was pitch black after I turned off my torch, but they made enough noise to let me know that at least 2 of them had stumbled in after me. I stayed there.
Okay, so the corpses are going after him.
Able to see anything. Not sure if they were heading straight for me or just getting ready to leave, forced to hold out and let luck decide my fate. When I finally heard something scrape against the wall barely 2 feet from where I stood, I gave up and switched my light on, desperate to know what was coming for me. The sound had been terribly misleading. Daniel Vance was no more than 6 inches from my face.
No.
He hissed from a toothless and cracked mouth, a living corpse just like the others. Somehow a flash of intelligence remained in those wide, terrified eyes. And then I heard it, the creaking of a door. Without even thinking, I turned the light and saw it on the wall. I saw it open. Behind the strange still, there was more than just plain old concrete. Much more. I saw a raging gullet of flesh.
Oh
a
my
ringed
God.
tube of pulsing muscle lined with teeth the size of hands.
Okay, so it's just basically that puddle. Something must have came out of that puddle. It must have been some kind of gigantic, liquefied flesh creature. Somehow.
A spiraling descent into madness. Hot, foetid air washed into the room, buffeting me and the rotting corpses, all of us paralyzed by what we were seeing, even if for most of the figures besides Daniel and myself, they didn't have eyes to see with.
What the fuck?
I muttered, unable to take my eyes from the flesh tube beyond the doorway.
It's coming.
Daniel whispered as he grabbed me with one fist and hurled me out of the room. I hit the floor and skidded along a slick fluid left by Vance's footprints, the smell of which turned my stomach. Perhaps the worst detail was that it was cold. I don't know why, I just expected whatever oozed off of them to be feverishly hot, but it wasn't. It soaked my shirt like I'd fallen into a muddy puddle.
It's coming.
This voice wasn't Daniel's. I couldn't say for sure, but it sounded like a child's whisper. One by one, the bodies shuffled over to the open door and knelt before it. I don't know why, but I got the impression the others had lost pretty much everything left of their minds, but Daniel remained aware. He looked back at me once more and spoke before he pressed his head to the floor in supplication with the others.
The only thing we did wrong was being here for it to torture. It didn't need a reason, just an opportunity. Leave. It won't let us go. It won't even let us die.
Oh my
And if
God.
it catches you, it won't let you go either.
His forehead kissed the dirt. Then something reached through the door and gripped his head in its palm.
Delicious dirt.
The way you or I might pick up an apple. In full panic, I ran over and grabbed my dog and bolt cutters, and I ran like my legs were pistons, machines whose signals of exhaustion and fatigue could not slow me down or cause me to fall. I had to move. I had to leave. The hand that had grabbed Daniel, the sight of it flushed my mind clean like some kind of enema. It hurt to see the image replay in my mind. There was nothing else in my head echoing around except the sight of fingers with one too many knuckles and nails as large as a smartphone. I reached the top floor and nearly collapsed from breathlessness, but I wouldn't let myself stay down for long. I crawled over to the ladder and climbed up and immediately went to work trying to cut the metal lock. It was hell with just one hand, the other clinging to the torch that I kept frantically pointing at the door behind me, and it wasn't long before I fumbled one too many times and dropped my only source of light.
No.
I mewed, but there was no time to look for it. I had to get out, and I had to get out fast. I couldn't see, but I was sure I could hear something climbing up those stairs. Not the steady thump-thump of human feet. No, this was different. This was a rapid pitter-patter of a spider, maybe.
Oh, God,
something with hundreds of feet or hands or God knows what.
Bro, what the heck is going on?
Skittering along the floor and walls and ceiling, pulling itself along with a body whose mere shape would offend God. Using all my strength, I leaned hard on the bolt cutters, and at last, the bolt gave. I threw the hatch open and got just enough ambient light to see Ripley hovering at the bottom of the ladder, growling ineffectually at the doorway. Crouched down, scooped him up, and fled up the ladder so quickly that my muscles turned to jelly at the top and I fell over onto my hands and knees. But still, I was out. The long corridor covered in writing was ahead of me,
Keep
and at
running,
the very
my
end,
guy.
a doorway capped now by the tired blue light of a full moon. Ripley needed no encouragement. He whipped down the corridor with canine speed, and I followed at a broken and stumbling crawl, eventually shouldering past the open door and collapsing onto the forest floor. For a few seconds, I drifted in and out of consciousness, but when I looked up and saw the canopy overhead moving, branches backlit by a full moon, I snapped awake and glared down at something gripping my ankle.
Oh, shit.
No.
The hand had reached out of the dark and seized me and was slowly dragging me back into the earth below. Whatever it was, most of its body lurked out of sight in the shadows beyond the doorway, but the hand that crushed my leg was the size of my torso, and an arm that looked like it belonged to a mole rat.
I am obsessed with tools that are thoughtfully designed, well-built, and uncompromising in performance.
That literally ruined the moment. His laughter
God damn
ruined
it.
the moment.
Officer Mole?
Yes! I told you not to enter my home at night.
All right, now that's my bear trap.
Bruh.
That's a bear trap. Yeah.
I've hit two heavy ones this episode. That one was like a prophetic pull. Oh my gosh. Oh, I know what it's implying, like under dwellers and stuff like that, but just the fact that I brought up already. Oh, his equation did in fact say mole people. I struck it with my own fist. I dug my nails in. I cried and kicked and screamed, but nothing could stop it. From behind the door, something like a face grinned and leered at me with joy. It was taking its time, sure enough, pulling me in so slowly that it gave my mind all the time in the world to
He's gonna show you grab the gun with him.
appreciate the nightmare that awaited me. I think if, in that moment, you'd given me a gun, I would have shot myself.
That's what I literally said. Except him shooting himself, bruh.
Because God help me, I couldn't escape the look in Daniel's eyes. How he knelt to worship this thing like a man who knew that hope or pride or joy or anything with even a hint of goodness to it was so far out of reach for him it might as well be a dream. How long was this thing going to keep them down there? How long did it intend to keep me? I wept like a child, feeling like my mind was slowly crackling as I tried everything to stop it from pulling me into the shadows. I kicked at the earth. I dug into it, using my hands, looking for a root or a pipe or anything to hold on to. Nothing. I did would slow it down. I was no more than a foot from the doorway when Ripley appeared. A dog afraid of hoovers and plastic bags and doors that move on their own. A dog who once got stared down by a particularly feisty rabbit who
Bruh. Not the feisty rabbit.
stopped mid-chase and turned around, baffling the predator on its tail. Dog you couldn't even watch scary movies around.
Bruh.
And he lunged at the arm like he was a wolf.
Hey!
Like he'd always been one.
Attaboy, Ripley.
And while he didn't quite break the skin, the pressure was enough to make the thing's grip weaken, and I slid my leg out. Unable to stand, I knelt and grabbed the dog, pulled as hard as I could, and now that thing bled at last as the pressure of the jaws and the sliding teeth ripped into its flesh.
Yeah.
Together, at last, Ripley and I were let go and sent rolling backwards, head over heels. I wasted no time waiting or looking or processing. I heaved the dog to my chest and crawled until I passed out, making it maybe half a kilometer away. Only when I could no longer see the door did I let myself fall to the ground face first, give up consciousness. The doctor said I had pneumonia, which I suppose made some kind of sense. I might have even believed them were it not for the sheriff's visit, asking strange questions of me as I lay in bed about what I may or may not have seen. I dismissed them to the best of my ability. I wasn't interested in chasing that particular nightmare down, figuring out if it had been real or not, at least not while I lay there, half drowning in my own infection. To be fair, I had at least some sympathy for why the police had done so little to seal that place off. I have, on occasion, thought about going and doing the job myself, but to this day I still have nightmares about being pulled into the dark beyond that door. Not just the bunker door, the one I narrowly avoided at the inn, but the one below. What I saw was a kind of madness, I'm sure of it, and I often think of Daniel's words.
It didn't need a reason, just an opportunity.
Somehow, the Vances were that opportunity. Maybe they built their bunker on a ley line, or a weak spot between dimensions, or the site of former satanic rituals. Not sure if it even matters. They went into the dark thinking it'd be a safe place to wait out the world's troubles, but something had been down there waiting for them, waiting for a chance to get at a family of 7 people, to lock them in and deprive them of escape and slowly take from them everything it could. I've moved since then. Couldn't help it. It wasn't just the memories you see. It was the shortwave radio I kept in my basement. Something my father passed on to me when I was just a boy. God, I'd forgotten about it. At least until I woke up one day to the sound of it blaring white noise down in the dark. And buried in that sound was the faint whispering of a man, his voice barely recognizable, but unmistakably his.
Let them go. Let them go. Let them go. Let them go. Let them go.
And that is the end. My
Did you read
God.
Did you read the Let Them Go?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
You know, it is Black History Month. Do you think Davis would be giving the
Really?
black folks half off?
Get out of here.
My God.
What
You know
a
what
great story, dude.
One thing I love
That's
about
so
Christian
good.
Wallace's work is the pacing, but not only that, but the way that he does exposition and the build up to where like it seems like he spends a lot of the very beginning of the stories instead of just being like, I'm going down to this deal. And then you get a lot of the exposition of like, oh yeah, like when you're down there, you get the exposition. It's like, I like that you get a lot of this, like a little bit of backstory, exposition of what's happening. And then it just seems like also my dog. And like, I think that it just takes a turn. It's like, my dog went missing and he's down in that very bunker.
Yeah,
Like that's a fun way to present that.
Yeah, all the little, because sometimes story writers have trouble with their connectors. How it's like, I want the character to do this and I want them to see this thing, and they need to go here and it needs to be this, but it needs to be believable. And sometimes the things that will push the character to those different points doesn't work as well.
Well,
But Christian Wallace doesn't have that problem because it's like, okay, well, he loves this dog. He establishes how much he loves the dog. So he goes into the first layer. Well, now he's trapped. He has to go to the second to get supplies. And now he has to go to the third because there's something on the second. So it's everything flows very well. And you get to see all the set pieces and it feels natural and it keeps the tension up. There's never a point where you're like, well, I don't know about that. Because a lesser storyteller would be like, I was in the first floor, but I had to know what happened to the family, so I go down to the second, where it's like, sure, we the reader wants to know what happened to the family, but no way this guy would, right?
Yeah.
So everything feels very reasonable. the
Why do you
layers of
think that?
sadness
Why
and
do
like
you, why do you think the TV just turned on randomly?
I almost feel like I missed a line, or like I'm forgetting a line about like.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I didn't read it right. I like wonder if in the shadow of the guy turned it on or something, or what. It seems like, knowing that Daniel is down there, he's still. Which also, I just want to say how like daunting and horrifying is that, of like your family are husk, like they're basically just zombies that just won't die, right?
Yeah.
And you are rotting with them, and you're still conscious, and you're still able to understand all of this shit. And I love that Daniel's character was not used as a vessel to like kill. He was used as a vessel to be like, you get the fuck out of here, don't end up like us. Which is kind of interesting too, because the parallel of like Daniel and his family were doomsday preppers. They went into the dark to hide for the troubles of the world, right? But they found a bunch of evil or whatever. It almost seems it's like a fun way for that character who did that to go out and just be like, don't live your life like this, and like basically like get out of here, which I think still to me translates to something of like, don't live in fear and get out of this place. You know what I mean?
What was the there was a picture of. What am I trying to think of? It was. Why am I stupid? I was about to say something and then I hate it when that happens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The door opened up and it was like a throat, right? It was like this thing of twist. That reminded me of Diania House a lot.
Diania House. I know that I say this probably every other fucking podcast, but the Final Prayer or something, where it's like an entity living in the hills, living in the ground or something.
And there's some arm or something that comes out of it, and it's like keeping them in a purgatory. I like that thing that Daniel says. It didn't need a reason, just an opportunity. It's just something that causes,
it's just evil,
death, misery, decay. Yeah, it's a pure wickedness, which goes off of what you were saying. How it's like the family was paranoid of the world, something going wrong with it, but then they found the essence of wrong down in their hiding hole, right?
Yeah. Well, in the hiding hole, I think that it's interesting that the creature, the sixth door, is like an appendage. It almost seems like of this thing.
Yeah.
That just appears. So it's like uncanny. It's like luring people in, but it's like you are trying to hide from the unknowns, from like an unknown precedent, like an unknown accident that would happen, right? You're trying to prepare yourself for something that could happen. And then of course the thing they go down there for, they're completely unprepared for. I think it's just kind of an interesting,
I also like the, which this is going to sound really rude. People aren't going to be happy with this. My one critique is I think the dog should have died.
I knew it. I knew you would fall in line. You know what's weird is because I am so happy the dog didn't die. I feel like my heart was fluttering.
Because here's why. Because there is a cautionary aura to the family, right? Like they feared the world, so they hid from the world, and they found something beneath the world, right? And we see Daniel, who is being punished for that and is witnessing the punishment of his family.
Right.
Because it's almost a curse, or it is a curse that he keeps his consciousness, right? Like if he was made into some mindless zombie puppet thing, that'd probably be better than the alternative where he's completely aware of what's going on, that his family's down there. Even in the final moments of the story, when he's listening to a shortwave radio and he can hear Daniel saying, let them go, let them go. He has to watch his family be kept in this puppet state, which is like it's literally a hell of his own making, right? And then there is a weird connection established between Daniel and our author, because similarly, the author went into this bunker for something he loves, right? The dog. So we have Daniel goes down there to preserve something he loves, and we have the author that goes down there to preserve something he loves. But in both cases, going down there is a narratively moral wrong, right? Do not go into the bunker. Do not go away. Maybe for our author, it wasn't necessarily to escape the world, but he is going into something he knows he shouldn't go into, right? even if
Well,
it's for good reasons or to
yeah.
help what he wants. So that scene where Daniel's speaking to the author and he's like, "Get out of here," that is like Daniel getting the author to do what he could not, to leave. But nevertheless, our author goes in. So I feel like if in that final moment where the dog came over and bit the hand, and then if then the dog was dragged down and maybe our author passes out or gets away or whatever and the police find him, it's like, yeah, because he wanted to go down there, something he loved paid the price. I feel like that would be the final bow tie between him and Daniel. I feel like it worked a bit better. I feel like it's a bit too easy for him to go down there and there be no consequences, right?
Oh, sure. No, I mean, I think going on top of that too, like, I think like, and this is all hindsight, whatever, just subjective bullshit, but like,
sure.
Daniel being more of like, maybe not like less of a, like picturing him up too as like he was a, like, like basically like not a mentally unwell man, but just something where it's like expecting the worst always. He believed that it was going to go. It was more of a detriment, right? And then that way later when he's sitting there with his dead family, it almost feels like you infect and you burden your family with that kind of mentality, or you change them, you zombify them into that state of belief or something, right? The same way that with our protagonist, it would have been something funny if it, or not funny, but it would have been something entertaining if he was a conspiratorial guy as well, except maybe like not Doomsday. He was just like, they're not telling us these things. It's another case that they're just covering up or whatever. Some type of conspiratorial thing to where he goes down into the bunker, which is similar to Daniel going down for his own reasons. And then he has to like have that kind of price, basically having some kind of motive to where our protagonist could learn where Daniel could not. Like there need, like the yin and yang, I think, need to have the opposites right there. It would have probably felt a bit more satisfying or something, where it's just like, don't go digging for things that are going to get you in trouble or yada yada yada. Which I'm paraphrasing and it probably sounds stupid, but I agree is what I'm saying with you. I think like it is a bit too convenient of like, I'm going down here. I do wish that he had a bit more motive of being like, there's just something weird, or like these fucking cops are covering something up. Something that is more about like something larger than himself is putting others in risk, the same way that like a doomsday thing of like an atom bomb dropping or something and fending for yourself or helping your family.
I feel like it's also a bit like the dog bites it and then it bleeds and it lets go. It's like, okay, so this is a creature that you can hurt and you can make it bleed and stuff. I think it'd make more sense if the dog biting it was more of a sacrifice. Like
it would
the dog
be heavier.
was sacrificed. It would be heavier if the dog, it's not like the thing bleeds. The dog's just like, oh, okay, I'll take this instead. So it'd be like the dog sacrificing itself to save him, which it kind of does.
Well,
it puts its life on the line to bite him.
I think that if you have the dog get like an ounce of courage, because it's kind of a funny character growth for the dog of like, dog's a big wimp and then he steps up. But if it does nothing, it's still like a noble gesture. I thought that what it was going to happen is Daniel was going to pop up and like grab it or something.
The dog?
Or like No, the monster.
Oh, the monster, like he was going to bring it down with him.
Yeah, something of just being like, this is my burden to carry, and then he seals it off.
Yeah,
like that kind of thing. Like to me, that would have been also a fun way to like tie that together. Because I agree. Then it just feels like it's.
Well then, anyways, thank you all so much for what? Wait, is there fan art? There's fan art. Okay. Oh my god.
What if she's monstrous?
Fan art.
Killed the dog because people are going to be uncomfortable.
Let's see. Is there fan art? And okay, there's just fan art. Okay.
Tired of.
So, if you guys want to watch the full video, as always, the link is down in the description. And this is the last episode to this video of the Creep podcast. So, as always, thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe to my YouTube channel and Twitch channel. Let's see. Wait.